Um, and I'm sure there are probably good examples too in House, where I'm sure they don't write cute where he gets a dumb look on his face whenever he notices kids playing baseball. Oh my God, baseball gene, it's affecting the whole vocabularies, or whatever happens. So yeah, the two other, flashback and montage. Flashback can be tackled in a couple of ways. First of all, you can say specifically that it's a flashback in the scene heading, and it's a very effective way. Also, if you change the scene to where it's obviously a flashback, if like, here we have Lydia and Mark, if the next scene is 3-year-old Lydia runs and jumps into a lake, we know that it's most likely a flashback as opposed to a jump in time, you know, as if that being part of the story, like she can selectively throw her consciousness into her body at any point in time of her life, which would be very interesting, and somebody should write that. But you would not assume that to be the first choice of what's happening there if 3-year-old Lydia is running into a lake. Those are the two most obvious ways. You can come up with other ways. I would try and stay away from sepia tones being directly referenced in your script or stuff like that. Although if you have an interesting visual cue, for instance, if your flashbacks, you want every single flashback to be 8mm on 8mm film, as opposed to just a straight flashback, if that's important to your story, you know. I read a really interesting short story. It's only 55 words, but the imagery of whenever this person remembered thoughts about their dads, it was like 8mm movies, and I thought, like, that's pretty great. And you could fit something like that if you've got just a cue or something that's integral to the story, fits in pretty easily like that.
How would you do with a time lapse scene?
I would most likely be done with montage. So in a montage, you usually just state that you're going to do a montage. The word montage.
Is that in all caps?
Yes, the same as flashback. And you would go ahead and write out the high points of what's going to happen. Or you could say specifically, time speeds up, and then hit what you're going to hit. I once wrote a script where there was a time lapse, but somebody kind of stood still in the time lapse. Like time was moving around that person, and so there was mostly talking about the blurs, the past, or the glimpses of what that person was able to catch as time was moving quickly around them, as their own bits of action, as a time lapse. I don't know what specifically you're going for, if it's just going to be like a long shot, like this is the park, and we see the kids play, and then we see them leave, and then there's a nuclear bomb, and then the cockroaches invade, and then, you know, I don't know how far you can go. But that's something you could definitely...
Yeah, how they have the shots of the city, and then like it speeds up throughout the day, and it becomes night, and you see the night stuff, the Wizard of Oz, and
Transition day to night. Just it better be important to the script that we show that it goes from day to night, because just cutting from a scene day to a scene at night usually says the same thing. Or, you know, sometimes the city is its own character in the script, and that would make sense to go from that to the city. But also, again, other ways to do montage, if you're going to be, like, say, scenes of Paris, you would put, scenes of Paris could be like the scene heading, and then you would put a couple at a French bistro, people taking pictures under the Eiffel Tower, people running into the Arc de Triomphe and falling down. Like, I don't know, whatever they're going to do in Paris, they're going to do, and you're going to show it, whatever you want to see. It's basically a list.
You don't have to create different scene headings for each clip in the montage, each setting change?
I would say the rule of thumb is if people are going to speak there, you definitely need to give it its own scene heading. Not necessarily. Think like the Karate Kid or Rocky, and they're doing their thing, and you saw that scene. But a lot of that I would say is probably ad-lib too. Like I'm sure like they're like, okay, we're gonna do this training scene, and so Rocky like, like, you know, I'm sure that wasn't written in, or like, do it Rocky, you gotta train harder. I'm sure that just the actors were like, in their character, were just like, what would I do in this scene? And again, like, and that's just giving credit to your actors. You know, they're gonna understand you. If you've built the character strong enough, they're gonna understand what to do. And they're gonna breathe life into your work without you having to tell them specifically